Your e-commerce brand's email list might be complete garbage right now, or it might be amazing. In this video, we're gonna break down the different examples of what a good list looks like and what a bad list looks like, so you can know if you have a bunch of trash or if you have a great opportunity that we can use to make a lot of money with. So to begin with this, we're gonna look at two different examples. So example one is gonna be a brand with an email list size of 260,000 people. And then example two is gonna be an email list size of 60,000 people. Now in example one, let's assume that they have 40,000 buyers in this list. And then in example two, let's assume that they have 25,000 buyers in this list. Now for the part that you've been waiting for, this example, number one, this is a brand that's making about $175,000 per month. And then in example two, this is a brand doing about $400,000 per month. Now for example number one, that's their total store revenue, but from email marketing, they're making only about $50,000 a month. And then in example number two, this brand's doing about $150,000 per month from email marketing alone. All right, so first I just wanna make it very clear, these are two real examples that I've seen before. And the biggest thing that should stand out to you is that this brand does a lot with the email list that they have, and a lot bigger portion of the list is a buyer. And then when you compare this brand to example number two, this one seems to have a lot of just like garbage leads in their list, and this is overinflated and they're not actually making nearly as much revenue from that list as example two. So if we erase everything and go back to the basics of what actually matters in your email list. Example number one, this brand had a 260,000 person list. In example two, they had a 60,000 person list. Those metrics do not matter. What actually matters is your buyer segments. The amount of buyers that you have in your email list is the amount of people that have literally given you money in exchange for your product. And I always like to say that actions speak a lot louder than words, because people actually taking out their credit card and giving you money for whatever it is that you sell says a lot about what they actually care about. And in one way or another, your brand's products align with what they want. Meaning, these people right here are the most valuable people that you have on your list, and you want as many of those as possible, and that is what we should be focused on. A really big takeaway here is that you can actually run ads at break even just to acquire buyers essentially for free, and it's still not all that bad of a situation because you're acquiring buyers for virtually no cost at all. Now, the only way this works though is if you have great retention. So thinking back to those two examples that I showed you before, so going back to example two, this was a brand that has amazing retention. They have, they are a supplement company, meaning people buy their stuff every single month, literally recurring. But going back to example number one, so this is a brand that actually struggles with retention because of the nature of their product. So because of that, it actually makes it a lot harder for them to acquire customers, because if they acquire customers at break even and their retention just isn't that good, you know, it's gonna hurt them long term, obviously. And they could even scale up a break even ad funnel, but if it's break even and the retention sucks, they're gonna ramp up revenue and have zero profit left over. The profit for the brand is in the retention, which is what example two has going really well for them. There's a good quote, I think it's from Dan Kennedy. I hope I'm not saying that wrong, but the quote is, money is made on the front end, wealth is made on the back end. So we can acquire a bunch of buyers, whatever, maybe the revenue or the actual profit margin on that isn't that great, but the real wealth is made on getting those people to repeat purchase, ascend up into higher ticket items, whatever it is. That's where all the real profits are made. So to give you a quick example of this, let's say you have an average order value on your ad funnel of about $120. And then let's say that your gross margin on that, minus the cost of goods sold, is 75%. So your COGS is actually 25%. So the margin is 75%. So this means that on each sale, you have $90 left over. But let's say your CPA, your cost per acquisition, is $70. Now you have $20 left over, and that's on each purchase individually. And again, the CPA is the ad spend. So you had to spend $70 in ad spend to acquire one buyer that spends 120 bucks with you. Now, minus software costs and a bunch of other costs associated with the company, this ends up going basically to zero. So you essentially didn't profit on that first acquisition of that buyer. Now, for the brand with really poor retention systems, like they're doing no email marketing, they're doing no SMS marketing, they don't have a good loyalty program, they don't have a referral program, anything like that, they're gonna struggle a lot with trying to scale this because there's gonna be no profit left over. But if each of these buyers turns into an LTV of about $500 over the next 6 to 8 months, that gives you a lot more wiggle room to essentially take all that profit out, especially if if your COGS continue to be only 25%. So if this was a normal scenario, and that's like an average scenario for your customers, after your COGS, right, so we subtract the cost of goods sold, that leaves you about $375 in gross profit just by having them come back through, they come back because they just like the product, your email marketing got them, and your email marketing is basically free. And now you're profitable in each of those customers over the course of their lifetime with your brand. This is something that can be scaled, but this on its own is not. We're gonna have a hard time scaling this without this. So your main takeaway from this video should be to start tracking your email list in 3 different groups. We want to look at the number of non-buyers on our list, the number of one-time purchasers on our list, and the number of repeat buyers on our list, meaning 2 or more purchases. For all of our clients, every single month we map out each of those 3 groups within the list. We're not just tracking the entire list growth, we're tracking the growth of each of those individual segments. Because we want to see how many more buyers have we added to the list, how many have we lost. And then of course, we don't want to forget about the non-buyers, but we're not going to value them as much as the buyers. So again, that's a non-buyer segment number 1, a one-time buyer segment number 2, and then a 2-time plus buyer segment number 3. Pull out a spreadsheet, track those on a monthly basis, and watch how they change. Now, if you want a retention marketing team to come in, essentially track all this stuff for you and show you how your brand is doing on that aspect of the business, I'm gonna leave the top link in the description. You can book a call with me. We'll talk about your current strategy, current team, see how we can help you out. But regardless, hope you got some value from the video. Hope you learned something here. Talk to you soon.